darkest hour. Oh, so this is the beauty. I'm going to tell you about it now, of the initial idea of the darkest hour. I didn't want to do it before because I didn't want to muck up my melody for this, but this is how it started off. The darkest hour is before the dawn. The darkest hour is before the dawn. The darkest hour is before the dawn. So that's how the song, the seed started. But that's how I'll talk about it soon. I still want to do it earlier.
No, we're talking about it.
Oh, are we on?
I think
Do your
I think we're
intro.
talking about it. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for listening to us. If you're just newly joining us, this is a podcast about songwriting. I'm Dave Martin. I'm here with my guest and a good friend and a recurring guest on the podcast, Layton Lillas. Layton is here to talk about a song that he recently wrote. And I guess what we want to talk about on this podcast is how songwriting is accessible to everyone. Lates, why don't you just start by telling us about this song that you created and what the challenge was, and just go ahead and do your thing.
Yeah, so Dave came up with an idea. We've been trying to break down the process of songwriting. Both of us have been writing songs for 30 plus years, and I've noted with a lot of different songwriters that everyone has their own process. No one process is right or wrong. And in fact, as a songwriter, we vary where that inspiration comes from. But in this instance, what Dave came up with was, I'm going to give you 24 hours to write a song. I'm going to write a song too. And then let's document that process, and we'll get to the end of it and actually try and articulate for you, the viewer, the listener, how we went about it. And so I was hugely excited, because often you have to wait for a bit of inspiration to come, but the craft of songwriting really is should be able to be applied in any situation. So Dave gave me a challenge. The first thing I did was I stared out the window and tried to come up with an idea in my head, a song name. And it's quite interesting. I was just telling Dave, I stared out the window, I could see my rose bushes in the backyard. So I came up with a song name called Pretty as a Rose. Just an idea, so I quickly wrote that into my phone. Then my little daughter came out and said, Dad, can you come and watch this with me? And something sparked in my head, which was, life's more fun with you. So I quickly wrote this down. This is all within the first hour of getting off the phone with Dave. Then I saw my swimming pool outside, and an idea flicked into my head, swimming against the tide. I mean, this is how the human mind works. Just ideas start coming out of nowhere. Then literally sunset came, and something just came to me, the darkest hour. And I thought, ooh, it's a bit of a negative idea, but the darkest hour. And I wrote that down as well. So what I had was about 4 seeds. And in this situation, I immediately just went on the darkest hour as what I'd start with. Everyone starts with a different musical instrument or some way of getting an idea down. It could be as simple as actually putting your iPhone out and recording a hum or a whistle, anything, a bit of melody or something. But I sat down with my acoustic guitar. Funnily enough, the capo was sitting on the end, and I thought, okay, let's write a capo song. And the capo is only something that I got into later in my songwriting life. Funnily enough, years ago, I toured country music star Glenn Campbell, and he always put that down as the secret to his success as a studio musician back in the 60s, where he was involved, I believe, with recording a lot of the Beach Boys classics and things like that. And his secret was the capo. He literally moved it up and down the fretboard, and there'd be a different tone, or he was just generally playing the same old chords, but you could move it up and it'd be in a whole different key, and then that's what he'd do. So I pulled the capo out and I chucked it on. Actually, I had it on the 4th fret, which is one of my favorites. For some reason, there's just a real sweetness.
There is. Yes, absolutely. It's great for F if you put it up on the 4th fret. So, quickly, I'd like to interject and just for new listeners, because this is one of our earliest podcasts. If you haven't made yourself aware at this point, we're talking about songwriting and the craft of songwriting and what inspires us to write songs, because Layton's written songs for how many years? 30 years at this point?
30 odd years, yeah.
Yeah, and so have I. And even though we're not, we don't make our living full-time through songwriting, we certainly have been involved in the business in one capacity or another for a long time now, at least 20 years, both of us. And we continue to write songs. And one of the things that I'm hoping that we can share with viewers, listeners of this, is the joy of songwriting and how it's a form of expression and how it's approachable. It's accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's really the goal. And
more accessible than ever, actually. More accessible than ever now with...
How so?
Oh, there's very cheap entrance level studio software now. I mean, every Apple computer comes with GarageBand, for example. You can literally do that and record something that was never that accessible 20 years ago.
That being said, I hope you still have your old Fostex 4-tracks with the cassettes, right?
I've got the cassettes, but I don't actually have that old machine anymore. Yeah, I had a different one, but yeah.
Yeah, we remember them. So yeah, moving on, that's what we're talking about here, is the craft of songwriting and the process of creating a song. And we're looking at Layton's song here, The Darkest Hour, and talking about the process of how you wrote it, the chords you came up with, why you structured it the way you did, why you chose to put the capo on, which fret you put it on in order to find the right key for your voice. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about your influences over time, because I definitely heard a lot of certain artists in there. I heard a lot of songs coming through in there, and we're going to talk about that. So that's what you're in store for the next Darkest Hour. Ooh, pun. All right, Lates. That was awful. Cut. Whoever's editing, cut that. That's
cut it in post.
When you hear that big click,
we'll fix it in post.
Exactly. All right.
Yeah. So
go on, dude.
What I had was the seed, and I'm going to call it the seed. I don't know if that's what every songwriter calls it, but I had the seed, which was a song name. Now, the seed can come in many different ways. Sometimes it's the song name. Sometimes it's literally a melody. Sometimes it's a chord structure. I watched something this morning on YouTube where Metallica, James Hetfield, said, for us, it always starts with the riff. So depends on the type of music. In this situation, my seed was a song title called The Darkest Hour. So I sat down, I put the capo on. I chose the 4th fret for no other reason than as I started to muck around, I was like, oh, that sounds so nice. You know, it just sounds different. Those chords that I just did down there, that's what it sounds like at concert pitch on a guitar. But with the capo, it sounded different. For the purposes of this morning, I am on the 3rd fret. So it's got a nice feel. But anyway, I watered the seed. That's what the next part of the process I've put down is watering the seed, like you do in a garden, right? And I had The Darkest Hour. So I sat down, I came up with a chord structure, which was this. And sometimes when you come up with a chord structure, just keep vamping on it for a while. Just keep working and see if something comes. Because the next thing that came to me was a melody. And I was just sort of like... And I thought, hang on, The Darkest Hour. So I was going, the darkest hour is before the dawn. Now I've got a bit of a message starting to come through. The darkest hour is before the dawn. And what I started coming into my head, rather than darkest hour had a very negative connotation, which in my head was a real mental health discussion, but is before the dawn. Dawn is the start of something fresh and new. And so all of a sudden my message that sounded a bit dreary was starting to become a song of hope. So I literally for the next hour kept doing this. The darkest hour is before the dawn. The darkest hour is before the dawn. So
It's something. There is some. Are you on the third fret now?
I'm on the third fret now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We got it on the guitar cam now. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, ba. I'll see you. Ba, 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 ba. It's something I can't put my finger on what.
Okay. Well, in the end, Dave,
Yep.
I never actually developed that idea any further.
Yeah.
I literally had in my head, right, at this point, and this is where everybody's process is different. So I use Logic Pro X as my recording program. This was enough for me to literally head into my home studio and start trying to flesh the idea out more. And this is where things started. So as soon as I got in there and started playing this with a drum beat, immediately I started coming up with it. So now I've got a different rhythm thing happening.
Yeah, and you went to the 5 chord.
Yeah.
So that's also so there's a lot of language associated with songwriting and keys of songs, and I don't want our audience to get bogged down with the technicality of things. I really do want to hopefully encourage the audience how fun songwriting is and how simple it can be. And in future ones, I want to show with just a handful of chords on the ukulele, because I've written a ton of songs on the uke, at least 40 or 50 recently. You can approach songwriting, and what Nashville does is Nashville calls just numbers the chords. So it doesn't matter what key we're in. Okay. So you're ultimately in resolving on this note here, right? For the dawn. Yeah. Okay. Well, that is it's a G-shaped chord, but it's the key of B flat is what it is. Okay. Because if we were all the way down at G, it's a G shape. That's a G. So what you're actually doing is just pulling that chord shape up 4 frets. So, G sharp, A, B flat is generally what we call it. Okay, and so what you did was you change your rhythm. Is that it? And then you went to. Okay, so you hit the root note, which is the B flat. And then you went to your 5 chord, which is the D shape, but that's actually in this case an F. Okay.
Yeah. So this all of a sudden went from what was my chorus progression into we've now got a verse.
Okay, so you started with your chorus. And had the new melody come out, or
no,
were you,
not
you
at
were
all.
still with
so
your...
literally I'm still holding on to what was the old melody. The darkest hour is before the dawn. The darkest hour is before the dawn. That's what I was going to do.
Okay.
But I'm like, okay, but I'm going to do this with a verse now. You got the blues. So I'm like, I'm just watering the seed is what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to work on different things. I don't even know if they're going to work together yet. And what I was going to find out later was literally the entire premise on what I'd started writing the song with, I never ended up using. It was just a part of the process to get to me to where I was getting to. So yeah, now I'm working those chords, but now I've turned it into a verse. I resolve on there, and I'm like, where to? Where can I do a pre-chorus? Stop flaming. So I'm setting up the chorus now, and the verses is, I hadn't properly formulated the lyrics yet. Lyrics for me are normally the last. I wouldn't call myself a poet that's walking around with a notebook writing big, long songs. The lyrics for me, I generally leave to last, but what I'll do is come up with parts of it. So obviously for a song like this, it's about mental health. You got the blues.
Right.
You're feeling numb. Your world seems hopeless when nothing gets done. Because I've found often people with mental health, they're great procrastinators. And then it's like a cycle where they start getting more annoyed with their life and themselves because they're procrastinating on an idea and they never quite, etc., etc. So I had a bit of an idea, but I was literally just vamping the vocals after that.
Question in there. So you have this idea for a chorus, The Darkest Hours Before the Dawn.
Yeah.
And at this point you have something that you're working with as a chorus, and now you're trying to build around it. So the whole thing is kind of, I would almost think of it as like if you were gathering sand to eventually build a pile, and you're kind of scooping little pebbles of ideas. So now you've got a bit of a verse, you got a pretty good chorus, but the chorus you ended up with is even a lot stronger.
Yeah.
And you've got, and you like this line, The Darkest Hours Before the Dawn. You're like, I'm going to run with it. I'm going to play in that theme lyrically. And at this point, if you're recording it, have you recorded like a 3-minute song then, or how
Not
much?
at all.
Yeah.
So I've recorded probably 8 to 16 bars. And even then, the extent of what I've done, and I don't want to get too technical because as you said at the start, what we're trying to do is document the process that even a beginner can come up with. But I recorded about 16 bars, and I just kept working around that. And then I sort of add on to it. I do a lot of cutting and pasting and until I get what I want.
Oh,
but
wow.
I also
didn't
revert
realize.
back to my guitar too. So I'm now, because I was playing along with the drum beat, and I've got this, I sort of hold that again. I get back onto my acoustic guitar and I'm like, right, let's flesh this out now because this is different. Now I've gone from the darkest hour is before. Now I'm like, you got the blues. I've got a melody. So the melody's what's hooking the listener in. The lyrics will come later, but I've got, these are the verse melodies. So where do I go from there? Because I've got to set up the chorus. So I'm like, let's make it hopeful. Stop blaming others. Quit blaming yourself. Da 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 da. The dark, and then I was like, hang on, now my chorus doesn't work. So I've kind of come up with a cool verse, a pre-chorus that feels hopeful, and I'm like, remember, because I was going, the darkest hour is before the dawn, but if I'm doing the pre-chorus, it no longer works. Reframe your story, believe in yourself. The dark, see, I can't even get it now. It just doesn't feel right anymore. So then I do what I guess is a bit cliched, but I'm leading to I love a big, memorable powerhouse chorus. So the darkest hour is before the dawn. Now, to get to that, da 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 da.
It's an F.
Yeah.
F note above middle C, which is a pretty big note.
Yeah.
G would be worse if you were two frets higher. But yeah, that's a pretty big note. You know, like.
Yeah. So, I would have tried a few different melodies because now my chorus that I've entered my home studio with no longer works, but I'm on a bit of a steam train. I've got a bit of momentum now. I'm trying to finish this thing. I'm trying to really work it through. And I will say, when it comes to flow in songwriting, when you lose your flow, put your guitar down and leave. Don't keep hashing things. But I was in flow at this point. I was like, forget the original seed. I'm onto something much better here now.
Yeah.
That seed can be used somewhere else down the track, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish this off. And so I keep the seed lyric, which was the darkest hours before the dawn, a message of hope. And I just da 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 da, new lives here too, da da da, the darkest hour is behind.
Yeah. See, I really like what you did there. Okay, so just a few things. So obviously you love Bon Jovi. Bon Jovi's your favorite band, right? Isn't that right?
Yeah, for 35 odd years, that was certainly my main inspiration.
Okay. And I'm getting a lot of that from this big sexy hook that you've written. And look, it comes through in a lot of your songs, and it's really turned into a craft for you. You write those Bon Jovi-esque hooks. And so what you've got here is your root note to the 5 to the 4. But what I like about this is your second time, instead of going to the 5, you're just dropping it to that, which is the 5, but with the you know what I'm talking about.
Bass.
Yes, exactly.
And which is probably a bit of the fact that I am a bass player. That's what I've done for 25 odd years. So I love, if you've come from piano background, you're always working a different bass note to the chord. And as a bass player, I've played that for years.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, so you were thinking of it from a bass line that would be...
That would be what the bass line would be.
It would be too boring to do 1, 5, 4 2 times in a row. So the second time you're going to go... Doom, doom, darkest hour is before... Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Because I heard that that chord... And sorry, I'm talking to you. I'm working the cameras. I'm doing it all, Layton. And I'm backing you up.
You're one of the greats, Dave.
Yeah.
You're one of the greats.
So thank you very much. Very kind. So from a bass player's point of view, though, that's what makes this that interesting. And the first time I heard it, I was thinking to myself, he doesn't repeat the same thing twice. What is it? And so that's a really simple trick to add something unique and different to the listener. And so that's one of the things that I really liked about the chorus of that song. And now that I figured out what a simple trick it is, I'm going to steal it. So thank you, Lates.
Yeah, look, I think if you, the songwriter, are a pianist, you will be used to doing that, moving that left hand around while the right hand's staying there. If you come from a bass player background, you're always used to playing a slightly different note. Oh, that's what provides the color as well as the grounding of a song as the bass player. I always think is the bass and the drums are the foundation of the song. You're used to doing that. But yeah, on guitar, it's a simple thing that I incorporate a lot of whatever I always think about what the bass player might be playing at that time.
So at this point, you've got a verse and now a big sexy hook for the chorus.
Yeah,
so the song's written, really. Like at that point when I'm writing a song, if I have a good structure for a verse and a good structure for and a big chorus like that one, I mean, to me the song's written. Now it's the fun part, and this is now I get to color in the lyrics in the verses and it's done and put a bridge in it. And so you actually took the time and put a bridge in here too.
Yeah. I mean, bridges are funny. I find the bridge to be something that in this generation Spotify type way of digesting music.
Careful, Lates.
The way we digest music streaming then is we don't like to cut back, right? Old timer stuff. When you used to put a needle on a record, you would listen to the entire song. Usually, you might not listen to the entire side, but you listen to the entire song. Where a bridge, and you could make a song 4.5 minutes. I find now, it's that adage: don't bore us, get to the chorus.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I often leave bridges out now, but bridges are fun. They're generally something that you bring in once or twice. It adds a bit of an extra message. So in my message here, I hadn't written these lyrics at the time, but my message is: you don't want to live with regrets. You got to be proud of the life you've lived. Leave nothing out there. Don't look back. It's a new beginning.
Play me that bridge, please.
Okay.
I'd really like to hear that.
It comes off the back of a chorus, so we'll do that descending run now of the darkest hour is behind you now. It's time to turn it around. You don't want to live with regret. So you could, after a bridge, maybe it's poisons every rose has its thorn, the bridge leads into a solo. You could lead it into a solo, or for the purposes of showing the song's construction, straight back into a chorus.
What I really like about what you've done with this song is, and typical me, this is going to be a long answer. There was a Rick Beato video I watched about 2 years ago where he talked about how all the new songs, and he was actually quoting who's the guy who writes all the hits who just got sued? Why is his name escaping me?
Desmond Child?
No, Ginger Boy.
Ed Sheeran.
That's it. He had talked about how basically every song now, nobody goes to any chord other than it's the axis of awesome. Root, 5, minor 6, 4. And that's it. That's all that every song basically is. And then the melody's in a pentatonic scale. And so the problem ends up being, no wonder they're all suing each other, because you're working with such a few amount of notes. And because our short attention span now is so dictated by don't bore us, get to the chorus, they won't go away at all from those chords. There's not even a verse. It's just the whole song is a chorus. So things have gotten simple, they've gotten boring, and it's no wonder everybody's suing each other. What choice did they have? You know, everything sounds exactly the same. And so I really like the idea of adding the 2 and the 3. And so I'm going to put the capo back on and just very quickly to talk about that. So if you're in the key of B flat, but it's a G shape, the 2 would be the A minor shape, which you're using a lot. And now in this bridge, you've gone to what would be the B minor chord, but in this case, it's a D minor. So you're kind of utilizing all the chords within that key, but coming back to the riff, which is, you know, that big chorus is a very predictable, familiar sounding chorus. But, you know, as they say in show business, you got to go away to come back. And so that's what I really like is you took us for a ride on that bridge, and then you brought us back to the root. And the whole thing fits within, I think it's about a 3-minute song.
Well, I think you said 3 minutes 20.
Yeah.
You said, I want that was the challenge. I forgot to articulate that. You said, I want a song written in 24 hours. I don't want it any more than 3:20.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I think it was 3:18, Dave. I literally just, I wanted to take on the challenge and see if I could write for purpose, which if you're a songwriter for anyone other than yourself or your band, you've got to be able to write something that fits what many other singers or bands can utilize for their fan base. So that's why I went that way.
Well, you pulled it off, man. I mean, you did it. You got everything in there. And I've already heard the tracked version of the song. So you've even got harmony guitars leading in at the beginning to kind of add a choral melody on top of it. So you've added all the elements that you want to see in a pop song.
Yeah, so just to finish the whole process for myself anyways, I now had pretty much the run of how to get from point A to point B. I had a structure, which I don't think's a particularly unique structure. I mean, it's verse, intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, solo, chorus, out. And I now had it in. It sat nice and easy at 3:20. I then came up with some ideas for guitar. Guitar is probably my primary instrument. It's not how I've made my money professionally for years, but it's what I enjoy playing probably the most. I will say, just as an idea, I often start with a hum. A hum, if you're a good whistler, I guess you can whistle it, but I came up with the intro lead, which you'll hear on the finished version that we'll put in the links to this episode. But I just came up with an idea that was like, sorry. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. That was all I had, and so I went on to my guitar, and I mean I can't remember where it was now, but I literally just played that. I played it in a harmony guitar line, nice and simple. It gave it a bit of color, And I also had like a little guitar lick that went underneath. The bass came pretty easy for me. And then, to be honest, I had to really look at it before I had the finished product and try and find some things to take out of it, because that's the biggest problem that I think budding songwriters and dare I say it, non-professionals do, is they try and keep layering more things on it. And actually the art, if you actually listen to a lot of professional songs these days, the simplicity of what's in there in the backing track is quite unbelievable. And so the art's actually taking some stuff out. And
Absolutely.
the finished version that you're going to hear, there'll be a lot taken out. I literally just, again, worked with the flow that I was in. I kept adding more parts, harmony, vocals, guitar breaks, little melodic guitar bits. And I even started adding keyboard pads, which that's not my strong suit. But first thing that came out was the pad that was muddying things. And now I'm sort of taking little bits out of it so that the finished version you hear is what I think's the optimum version of the song. So that was an amazing little exercise.
I just want to play that riff. Okay, so you're going, I'll talk in shapes, A minor to the E minor, C to the G. And so you came up with the melody. Da, 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 da. Was that the melody?
Darkest hours before the dawn.
And now I'm talking about the intro guitar riff.
Da, 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 da.
Ba, da, da, ba, ba, ba. Okay, so, but when I heard that on the version you sent me, you had a harmony to that. So that's two guitars. And I thought, is he using a harmonizer pedal, or did he figure out a harmony to that riff? So you said what you do is you came up with that melody, you hum it, then you figure out that melody on the guitar, and then you added a fifth to it. Is that right?
Yeah, so I played the track back in unison. I mean, this is the beauty of home studios nowadays, is that you can have the track running, you can do as many takes as you want, and then you pick your best take. But yeah, that's all I did, is I played it in unison, a fifth up. And it gives that beautiful Thin Lizzy-esque.
Yes.
The boys are back in town.
Yeah.
They were probably the originators of that.
I love it. I love
Eagles
it so much.
do it all the time.
Yeah, man. Harmony guitar is where it's at. It sounds so good. And what's nice is it gives the listener a break from hearing the vocals. It gives the singer a break from singing. It gives your mind a second to kind of pause and digest what you've just heard in terms of lyrics, and kind of process it. Just, it's just a break. Again, you got to go away to come back. And so it's always nice to, instead of a flurry of note guitar solo that's going to wash over you, you're picking a melody line and making the guitar almost be an accompanying vocalist, the way Slash is in Sweet Child of Mine. I mean, I was listening to that the other day, and I thought his guitar part is as crucial to that song. Those do-do-do, all his riffs, they're complementing Axl's vocals. So I like that where the guitar is actually singing. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about one more thing in terms of these chords. There's two songs that I'm getting a big taste of from this. Okay, so this, but to me, I was like, oh, it's very Atlantic City.
Does he change his chords at all during that
So
song?
he goes to the 5 every now and then. He'll go to a quick 5 at the end of every verse, and it's just to pull you into that chorus. So the verse and the chorus are exactly the same. Talk about an easy song for beginners. It just goes to that to build tension very quick for half a bar or whatever. So
great song.
Yes, it is. And so it reminded me, when I heard this song of yours, I thought I'm getting a bit of Bon Jovi, but I'm getting a 90s vibe. And is it because I used to play Atlantic City back in the 90s?
Right.
And then what I like is you switched from what I call the saw and the guitar and half strum, this one, sorry, that to a kind of a more rhythmic strum. Yeah, and from that I was getting the vibe of Save Tonight, that old 90s song.
Yeah. Who was that by?
Close. His name his name is Eagle Eye Cherry. Don't ask me. Haven't Googled him. Have no idea what he's been up to for the last 25 years. Yeah. But that was that was the name he was under
So,
as
but what were
as
the
the
chords
artist
to
in
Save
that song.
Tonight? So the rhythm.
It just kind of
was a bit
had
like
that feel, because you're going right.
It's really funny. I always find this is the interesting thing about songwriting in general. It's so subjective. What you, as a listener, have taken out of it is a little bit of Springsteen, a little bit of Bon
Yeah.
Jovi. Someone else could come up with something totally different
That's a
that
good
kind
point.
of applies to them.
So
know?
you didn't see that connection to either
Not
of
at all.
those
See,
songs.
I mean, I love the boss, but I've only been to one of his concerts, but I don't have his albums. It's not something I went off. I mean, I can certainly see the Bon Jovi influence when you think of the darkest hour. I mean, it could be like, I'll be there for you. These 5 words I swear to you.
Yeah, that's where I was getting it.
I guess. Yeah.
So, yeah, let's move on to the lyrics.
Yeah.
Because I want to talk about them. I noticed that back in the day, Bon Jovi, I used to say he does a lot of like self-help songs. You know, it's like keep the faith and I'll be there for you, and they're always about I'm gonna believe in myself, and they're dare I say almost Christian-esque in a way sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I was getting a big hit of that from these lyrics, which is great. I mean, that's your influence, and that's what I was feeling. What you know what I'd like you to. Would you read the lyrics as a poem? Because I've heard this song now 3 or 4 times all the way through. And I always like, you saw the Beatles documentary, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And you know, there's a scene where John Lennon says, once the lyrics are done and written, he likes to kind of step back and look at them as a poem and, kind of enjoy it as a poem. And it has to work. It has to make sense as a piece of writing read on a page, as well as fitting into its musical home.
Yeah.
So I always do that at the end of writing a song. I always kind of step back and read it, make sure it all flows. It all flows with the same kind of meaning, and nothing is sticking out. And that's what I toil over at the very end is writing the lyrics. But of course, I'm a lyric guy because my guy is Dylan, right? So.
Got you.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's where my big influence is coming from. But so I was hoping that you would
Sure.
read them.
And
Yeah.
I will say, look, everybody, the thing that I've found over many years is that everybody brings different sandwiches to the picnic, right? No one's the same. Everybody has different tools in their toolbox.
Okay.
Whatever other cliche. And the fact is, some people are better lyric writers. Some people are better melody writers. Back in the day, you used to have arrangers that would come up with the thing. You would have the songwriter, and then you'd have the performer. The performer didn't write songs, blah, blah, blah. So it's not something where, if one of these parts is not your strong suit, and I would say lyrics for me, Dave, is not my strongest suit. I don't labor over words. And what the exercise you're asking me to do here is a really good one, because at this point of the podcast, I may still, it's not put on an album yet or anything like that, I may still change these lyrics. I may look to actually collaborate with someone to kind of tweak the lyrics, because this is going to be really interesting as I read it to you as to whether it actually comes off very cliched to me or it works. So,
all right.
Obviously the song's called The Darkest Hour. The first verse is, you got the blues, you're feeling numb, your world seems hopeless when nothing gets done. Your dreams have faded by the day, forever listening to what others say. Stop blaming others, quit blaming yourself, reframe your story, believe in yourself. The darkest hour is before the dawn, your new life's here to be turned on. The darkest hour is behind you now. It's time to turn it around. The second lot of verses, so I guess verse 3. You've had your struggles, you've cried your tears, now let the prize overcome your fears. I have to say that feels a bit naff to me, but anyway, that's just my initial thought. Set some targets, then shoot them down, watch your journey take off from the ground. Then it does... How I've done the pre-chorus second time around is rather than saying stop blaming others, quit blaming yourself. I've just tweaked it. I've put, you've stopped blaming others. Quit blaming yourself. You've reframed your story. You believe in yourself.
Oh,
So
wow. I never caught that.
I'm telling the listener,
Yep.
you've hit rock bottom. You're on your way back. This is a story of hope. And then the chorus is that bit that just connects you again. The darkest hour is before the dawn. Your new life's here to be turned on. The darkest hour is behind you now. It's time to turn it around. The bridge. You don't want to live with regrets. You got to be proud of the life you've lived. Leave nothing out there. Don't look back. It's a new beginning. And that probably is just something that at the stage of life that I'm at the moment, I've seen this cycle many, many times in my life, a little bit with myself, but with others around me, friends and family. And it is possible. So don't be that person that thinks back to something that's behind you in the rearview mirror and you've let that define the rest of your life. You know, which for a lot of us, and I hate to keep bringing it up, but like I've got every right to probably blame the pandemic for all sorts of things in the industry I'm in. No point. It's been and gone. Let's focus on the present. Let's focus on what's positive and hopeful about the future. So that's what the bridge was trying to be, a final little...
Good advice, Lates.
Little push out there to everybody. And yeah, that's how we got from point A to point B in this song.
May I ask you,
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the times when I write lyrics, particularly if there's something like that where you're talking to someone else and trying to encourage them or whatever it is, or telling a story to a person, the you that I'm telling it to is myself. So it's actually a self-affirmation about your own life. And I've written many songs over the years. I'm thinking of one that I wrote called Blue-Eyed Child that was exactly about that. Lay down your head, blue-eyed child, into your bed, come rest a while. You know, you've crawled through deserts and under the sea, but I knew in time you'd return to me. And it's actually about myself. And it's a song to self-soothe in a way, so I can remember it and say, look, don't beat yourself up about these things that have happened to you or how you feel right now, because you've been through a lot. I wonder, your song, is your song in any way, you know, kind of a self-affirmation to yourself?
Positive. Probably. Possibly.
Yep.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, I don't ever want to downplay depression and mental health. I personally don't think I have an issue with depression and mental health. I certainly am not on medication, and I know that others around me are. And so I never want to downplay that. But, you know, I'm human too. I know what it feels like to have your back against the wall. And so maybe that's what a part of this message of is from me, is that I've been there. I do get it. I maybe am not suffering as much as you are now, but there is a way back. And so, yeah, I think there's always a little part of you. I find it very difficult to literally write a song and have no part of me in it. Some songs I do write are completely fictitious. I just come up with an idea and I'll move with it. This is probably not one of them.
I think that, like, I would feel personally kind of, if I was giving advice to someone, especially about something as sensitive as their mental health, I would feel too self-righteous to do that. I wouldn't want to do that, you know, to say, you know, you have to think this way or think the way that I think. But I certainly would have no problem trying to encourage myself, you know, the way I did in the Blue-Eyed Child song. So that to me is what I'm thinking about, songs where you're almost diary entry, and you're almost diary journal, whatever you want to call it. It's a way of communicating to yourself, maybe a mantra or a way of getting out of whatever headspace you're in. I don't know, if I were to step out on a limb, I'd say I think a piece of you in there was coming out, talking to yourself in that. Maybe that's why it was so easy to write. You know, even maybe. You said it earlier, you said about the pandemic, and it's easy to carry around anger. And I'll be honest, I certainly still am. I'm still angry about the way the whole thing went. And, you know, it gets less and less over time. But, you know, it was our last lockdown feels like yesterday. And that was 2 years into what was going on. And quite frankly, still
Still
not
grates on you a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I think at this point we should play it once. Have you got it in
Yeah,
you?
let's do that.
Yep.
You going to play along with me?
I will jam along at the risk of playing a bum chord, but I will try very hard to...
Okay, so you've got your cape on the 3rd fret, though,
yeah,
right?
I'll try very hard to be respectful. You let
Okay.
it rip. You got the blues. You're feeling numb. Your world seems hopeless when nothing gets done. Your dreams are faded. And by the day, forever listening to what others say. Stop blaming others. Quit blaming yourself. Reframe your story. Believe in yourself. The darkest hour is before the dawn. Your new life's had to be turned on. The darkest hour is behind you now. It's time to turn it around. Whoa. You had your struggles, you cried your tears and let your pride overcome your fears. You set some targets, shoot them down and watch your journey take off from the ground. You stop blaming others, quit blaming yourself. You've reframed your story. Believe in yourself. The darkest hour is before the dawn. Your new life's had to be turned on. The darkest hour is behind you now. It's time to turn it around. You don't want to live with regrets. You gotta be proud of the life you live. Leave nothing out there. Don't look back. A new beginning. The darkest hour is before the dawn. Your new life's had to be turned on. The darkest hour is behind you now. It's time to turn it around. The darkest hour is before the dawn. Your new life's had to be turned on. The darkest hour is behind you now. It's time to turn it around. Turn it around. Wow, man, really great. You know what? What else is there to say? And we're kind of right on time. Layton, I just want to thank you so much for coming in. And
Thanks for having me, Dave.
oh, it was. You know what? Yeah, I don't think there's really any more to say. We've done what we set out to do. Thanks for bringing that song to us, and thank you very much for explaining your process. And there was so much there. How you wrote it. I really enjoyed talking with you about it, and I hope to see you again in another one. I hope that you come back and do this again with me.
Absolutely, I'm here for you anytime. So,
okay, to everybody out there, thanks so much for being a part of this. We really appreciate you coming in and joining us on this. We're doing our best to make a show that is hopefully easy to listen to, hopefully entertaining, hopefully a bit funny at times. We want to show you the joy of songwriting and the joy of painting, Bob Ross. And that just came to me. Cut that out, whomever. I need a button. Look, we really appreciate everybody tuning in. There's a lot out there to listen to and take in these days. Everyone's competing for your eyes and your ears on screen time. So thank you for being part of this. We hope to see you in future episodes. We're going to continue to explore songs and songwriting and talk about the craft and the ideas and where the muse comes from and how we express ourselves in songs, and hopefully encourage you as to get involved as well. As someone who enjoys this, pick up a uke, pick up a guitar, sit down at the piano, or just start writing a poem and express yourself through music. It's a way of life. All right. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.